Welcome to Cinema Bites. Your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The movie begins in the Pacific Ocean, specifically west of Alaska Island. A fishing boat is in the middle of the ocean when it is suddenly attacked by a giant sea dinosaur. We then see news channels discussing dinosaurs, stating that dinosaurs now live alongside humans naturally despite their danger. This is due to catastrophic events that occurred recently, including dinosaurs escaping from the zoo and spreading worldwide. A news anchor mentions that the government has managed to capture many predatory dinosaurs, but the situation remains unstable due to the escape of predatory dinosaurs from the T-Rex species. As a result, the U.S. Congress transferred all its powers to a global company called Biosyn to capture these predatory dinosaurs. The owner of this company is Dr. Lewis, who is working on a genetic project aimed at studying and controlling dinosaurs. We learn that Lewis is searching for a young girl named Lizzie, the daughter of a prominent genetic scientist who died 12 years ago, to conduct tests and research on her because she carries dinosaur DNA. Her immune system is incredibly strong and can repel any disease. Next, we go to an illegal dinosaur park, where two people try to enter to film the dinosaurs and report them to the police. Once inside, a woman named Claire notices an injured herbivorous dinosaur that needs treatment. She takes it with her and her friend, and they leave the farm. Her brother Frankie is waiting for her, and they get into the car and escape the area. However, guards from the farm spot them and chase after them. Claire drives through a group of dinosaurs to distract the guards, causing the dinosaurs to collide with the guards' car. Claire successfully escapes with her companions. Meanwhile, her husband Owen is chasing a group of herbivorous dinosaurs to guide them into the forest. He manages to catch one and calm it down, making it follow his commands. This is because Owen was a dinosaur trainer 15 years ago before the dinosaurs escaped from the zoo. At the same time, Lizzie returns home and talks with Claire, who asks her not to go to the city again because it's dangerous for her. Lizzie becomes upset because she feels confined and asks why they live in an isolated house in the forest instead of in the city like everyone else. Claire explains that Dr. Lewis, the owner of Biosyn, wants to capture her and experiment on her because her mother injected her with dinosaur DNA before her death, giving her unique genes and a strong immune system. We learn that Claire and her husband Owen have been raising Lizzie since her mother passed away and consider her their daughter. Later that night, Owen returns and sits with Claire and Lizzie. When he finds out she went to the city, he calmly warns her that if she goes again, he will confine her to the house. Lizzie becomes upset and retreats to her room. Meanwhile, a man named Michael is spying on them and informs someone on the phone that he knows where Lizzie is. It becomes clear that he plans to kidnap her. We then go to a farm in Texas where two young children are working. Suddenly, a swarm of giant locusts, clearly genetically modified, attacks them. The children hide in the stable and manage to catch one large locust. After the swarm leaves, a geneticist named Ellie arrives. The farm owner tells Ellie that a massive swarm of locusts attacked 60 farms in Texas, devouring all the crops. She also mentions that her young son managed to catch one of the locusts. Ellie takes the locust and visits her friend Grant, a famous paleontologist, to ask if he has seen such large locusts before. Grant explains that giant locusts lived during the Cretaceous period and went extinct 10,000 years ago, suggesting that these locusts are genetically modified. Ellie suspects that Dr. Lewis, the owner of Biosyn, is behind this because he is a renowned geneticist who wants to create global problems so governments will always rely on his company, granting him more power. Ellie and Grant decide to infiltrate Biosyn to collect DNA samples from the locusts there and develop a solution to eliminate them, as the locusts are multiplying rapidly and could destroy all the world's crops, leading to the end of humanity. We return to Lizzie, who is sitting alone when she notices a small raptor dinosaur approaching her. She offers it a sandwich to eat, but its mother arrives and tries to attack her. Owen arrives just in time and manages to fend off the dinosaur, sending it back into the forest. We discover that Owen had trained the dinosaur named Blue 15 years ago at the zoo. When he realizes Blue has a baby dinosaur, he follows them into the forest to find their habitat. Later, Lizzie takes her bike and decides to go to the city again. Claire tries to stop her, but Lizzie ignores her and insists on going. Michael, who has been watching everything, calls his men and orders them to kidnap Lizzie and Blue's baby dinosaur. They succeed in capturing the baby dinosaur and even throw Blue off a high cliff to prevent interference. When Owen sees this, he chases after them to rescue the dinosaur, but Michael shoots at him and escapes with his men. At the same time, Lizzie is on her way to the city when someone blocks her path. Michael arrives in his car and kidnaps her. Owen sees this but is too far away to intervene. He rushes home and tells Claire that hunters have kidnapped Lizzie. He asks her to prepare the car so they can rescue her. As soon as Claire steps outside, she encounters Blue, who is furious because the hunters took her baby. Owen calms Blue down and promises to bring her baby back. Blue calms down, and Owen and Claire leave to meet her brother Frankie, who works in the U.S. Congress. They seek information about Michael, who kidnapped kidnapped Lizzie. Frankie reveals that Michael works for a dangerous gang headquartered on the island of Malta. He informs them that someone named Barry will meet them on the island to help rescue Lizzie. Meanwhile, Ellie and Grant infiltrate Biosyn to collect DNA from the locusts. As soon as they arrive, they are met by a man named Ramsey who works at the company. He takes them to show them the advancements they have achieved. There, Ellie meets her friend Dr. Ian, who works in genetics at the company and is responsible for studying dinosaurs. She asks him if he knows anything about the genetically modified locusts, but before she can finish her question, Ian interrupts her, takes her aside, and tells her that Dr. Lewis, the owner of the company, is the one who modified the locusts' genes, making them strong in order to control the global food supply. He gives her a bracelet to easily access the lab and take the DNA of the locusts. At that time, Lewis is in his lab talking with Dr. Henry. He tells Henry that they must find a solution to stop the genetically modified locusts because they will cause a global famine that could lead to the extinction of humanity. Lewis promises to find a solution to the problem. After leaving the lab, he speaks with a gang leader named Santos, who is on a plane with a girl named Maisie and a small dinosaur. It turns out that Lewis hired Santos to kidnap them so he could conduct experiments and research on them. The gang arrives at the island of Malta and pays Kayla, the pilot, for flying them there. Kayla notices that Maisie is terrified and realizes that the gang has kidnapped her and plans to harm her. Around the same time, Owen and Claire arrive on the island of Malta and meet Barry, who helps them track down the gang. Barry takes them to a dinosaur market where Michael, one of the kidnappers, works. Claire goes to the bathroom and coincidentally meets Kayla. She shows her a picture of Maisie and asks if she has seen her before. Kayla lies and says she hasn't seen her, then leaves. Meanwhile, Owen and Barry monitor the island, and when they spot Michael, they follow it. They find him making a deal with Santos, the gang leader. Barry gathers his men and attacks the gang to find out Maisie's location. However, the gang fires at them, and Michael uses the opportunity to escape. Owen chases Michael, but suddenly, dinosaur cages are open, and the creatures surround them. Owen escapes the dinosaurs and fights Michael until he falls to the ground and lets the dinosaurs attack him. Michael reveals that Maisie is with Santos. Owen calls his wife Claire and tells her to capture Santos. Santos is cornered by Barry and his men, so she opens cages containing genetically modified dinosaurs and commands them to attack Barry and his team. Barry manages to escape and hides in a car. Claire chases Santos, captures her, and threatens to kill her if she doesn't reveal Maisie's location. Santos tells Claire that Maisie is at Biosyn Corporation and that Dr. Lewis, the owner of the company, paid her to kidnap Maisie. Suddenly, a dinosaur appears and attacks Claire, but she escapes by jumping out of a window and hanging onto a balcony. Kayla spots Claire falling onto her car and drives to help her escape the dinosaur. They manage to fend it off with a metal rod. Meanwhile, Owen is riding a motorcycle, chased by two dinosaurs in the city. Kayla and Claire head to Kayla's plane, waiting for Owen to join them. As Owen approaches, they open the rear door, allowing him to board the plane while escaping from the pursuing dinosaur. Kayla promises to help them rescue Maisie, and they head to Biosyn Corporation. At Biosyn, Maisie is in the company's lab with Dr. Henry, the deputy director. Henry tells Maisie about her mother, who had died from a severe genetic illness. He reveals that her mother discovered she had the same condition 5 months after Maisie's birth. Her mother altered Maisie's genes by injecting her with DNA from a raptor dinosaur, giving her a strong immune зрение, давая ей сильную иммунную систему, способную бороться с любой болезнью. Henry expresses regret for creating a catastrophe by genetically modifying the locusts, making them massive and destructive to crops, threatening humanity with extinction. He explains that Lewis kidnapped Maisie to extract her blood and fix the modified locust genes. While Henry talks to Maisie, Dr. Ellie and her friend Grant arrive at the lab and take a DNA sample from the locusts to create a solution. Maisie thinks of a way to escape Biosyn. She uses Henry's bracelet to open the cage of a small dinosaur and escapes with it. Lewis sees her and activates the alarms to catch her. The noise causes the locust in the lab to fly out and attack the building. Maisie sees Ellie and Grant escaping the lab and decides to join them. Meanwhile, a dinosaur attacks Kayla's plane, damaging the engine. With only one parachute available, Owen insists that Claire use it to save Maisie. Claire parachutes out of the plane, but the dinosaur tears the parachute, causing her to fall into the forest. Owen and Kayla crash land in a snowy area, but survive unharmed. At the company, Ellie, Grant, and Maisie try to escape, assisted by Ramsey, who had greeted them upon their arrival. Ramsey reveals that he knows everything about the genetically modified locusts and helps them escape by activating a train that leads to the company's exit gate and showing them the way to the airport. In the forest, Claire wakes up hanging from a tree and discovers a predator dinosaur nearby. She quietly frees herself and tries to escape before it notices her. When she lands on the ground, the dinosaur hears her and moves toward her. Claire crawls on the ground and dives into a small lake to avoid being seen. On the other side, her husband is the first to exit the plane. It's Owen and Kayla. They move quietly on the ice to leave the area, but suddenly a dinosaur approaches them. They go underwater to escape the area, but the dinosaur dives under the water to break the ice beneath them and eat them. They run quickly until they enter an elevator and manage to escape. Kayla talks to Owen and gives him a tracking device for the parachute of Claire, telling him that she is in the forest. They need to move quickly towards her because that forest belongs to Biosyn, and it's full of predatory dinosaurs that have been captured over the past 15 years. When Lewis, the owner of Biosyn, discovers that Ellie and Grant have entered the locust lab and learned all its secrets, he asks his guard guard how they managed to enter the lab. The guard tells him that Dr. Ian helped them and gave them the bracelet that allowed them to access the lab. At that moment, Lewis notices on the surveillance cameras that they are on a train with Maisie, heading toward the main gate. He cuts the power, stopping the train, forcing them to disembark, and they find themselves in an old mine. They continue walking to get out of the company. At this point, Lewis calls Dr. Ian and fires him for helping Ellie and Grant enter the lab. He accuses Ian of wanting to destroy humanity because the genetically modified locusts will destroy crops and cause disaster within a month. By chance, Lewis sees on the surveillance cameras that Ellie and her group are in the mine, which contains predatory dinosaurs. Ian figures out the mine's exit and drives quickly to help them. While searching for a way out, they find themselves surrounded by a group of predatory dinosaurs. They run quickly until they find the exit gate, but unfortunately, it's locked with a password. Dr. Ian arrives just in time and tries to unlock the gate, but doesn't know the password. At that moment, Ramsey sees them on the surveillance cameras and opens the gate for them from the control room. As soon as they exit, Dr. Ellie tells Ian that she managed to obtain a DNA sample from the locusts. They all decide to get into the car and head to the airport. Meanwhile, Claire, after leaving the forest, reaches the company's control room. Suddenly, a predatory dinosaur tries to attack her, but her husband arrives just in time, kills the dinosaur, and saves her at the last moment. Afterward, Dr. Lewis goes to the lab and orders his men to burn all the locusts to eliminate them before the government discovers he is responsible for the disaster. They burn all the locusts in the lab, but the locusts escape through a vent and leave the company. The bigger disaster is that the locusts are on fire and fall onto the dinosaurs, setting the entire forest ablaze. Amidst the chaos, the burning locusts fall onto Ian's car, causing an accident and flipping it over in the forest. When they regain consciousness, they find Claire and Owen in front of them. Maisie joins them and is amazed that they came all this way to save her, even though they aren't her real family. They all regroup to leave the forest, but suddenly, a predatory dinosaur approaches them. They hide behind the car to avoid being seen. Afterward, they move quickly toward the company's control room. When the dinosaur spots them, Ian tries to distract it to allow the others to escape. He throws a flaming spear at it, and Claire uses the opportunity to electrocute it with a high-voltage charge. The dinosaur leaves them and walks away. Due to the forest fire, Lewis is forced to evacuate all the employees from the company. He becomes furious as all his research and experiments are destroyed. He boards the train to leave the company, but the train stops due to the power outage. He steps out to fix it, but is surprised by a group of dinosaurs that want to eat him. He tries to return to the train, but the dinosaurs follow him inside and devour him. Owen and his team regroup, and Dr. Henry, the vice chairman, approaches them. He tells them he wants to join them to fix his mistake and eliminate the giant locusts before they cause human extinction. They agree and take him with them. They all leave the company. Captain Kayla arrives with a plane to rescue them, but suddenly two dinosaurs approach and start fighting each other. Owen and the others take advantage of the moment to board the plane and leave the area. A third dinosaur appears, teams up with one of the others, and kills the most dangerous. Ends with the U.S. Congress deciding to turn the Biosyn headquarters into a natural reserve for dinosaurs to live safely away from humans. And finally, Owen fulfills his promise to return the baby dinosaur to its mother, Blue. The movie ends. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get more new videos. See you next time.